Hi, I'm Evie Kendall from the Ethical, Legal and Social Implications of Emerging Technologies Research Group at the Iverson Health Innovation Research Institute, Swinburne University of Technology. And on behalf of myself and Suman Ray, the Director of Defence Innovation Partnerships at South Australian Space Industry Centre and the leader of the Convergence series, it is my great honour to welcome Peter W. Singer, the founding and managing partner at Useful Fiction LLC, a company specializing in strategic narratives. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you inviting me.
So, I just have some questions prepared by our respective teams. And the first one is about that quote from The Economist when they were writing about Useful Fiction, the website. And they said decision makers are more likely to sit up and take notice about future threats and the methods to combat them if they're presented in a gripping story rather than in a plodding report. In your view, what are the most effective ways of ensuring a gripping story?
That's a fantastic and frankly kind of challenging question to answer in a short amount of time. Let's do a couple of things. First, let's pull back. The origin of that quote was basically looking at the work that we've been doing with Useful Fiction Network, which is a group of people who range in backgrounds from former military leaders, including from Australia, to technology forecasters, best-selling authors, people behind TV programs and video games, who range in these very different backgrounds. But what brings them together is a shared interest in how to use the power of story, narrative, to wrestle with real-world problems. And the value set of it is narrative is the oldest communication technology of all. And I need to pause here when I say narrative. Narrative can be a made-up story. It can be a true story. History is a series of narratives. But its value is the science shows it's the most effective means of conveying new or complex information. It's the way the human brain works. The If you read a report, whether it's a international relations journal article or a medical journal article, you name it, one part of your brain lights up. If you engage the information as told through a story, four parts of your brain light up. Story also brings in, if it's done well, and this is one of those, I'm getting to the answer to your question, tips. Well done story brings in emotion. Again, that has value, not just entertainment. Emotion drives change in organizations. It drives how people make decisions, whether it's voting behavior, purchasing behavior. When leaders are deciding whether to go to war or not, when we look at transcripts of their cabinet meetings, emotions come up. So you can be strategic with it. And the final, I think, key value set of narrative is if it's well done, it turns the target audience into part of the team. They then share it out with others. It goes viral. And we that goes back to the way we are as humans. We connect with each other over stories that we like, stories that we hate. And so I think there's just a lot of ways that story can prove to be valuable. Our belief is we don't make enough use of it, and that we can be very strategic in our use of it, whether we're trying to, explain a new biotechnology or warn about a strategic future for a nation. What makes a good narrative? That's one of these things that um, some people are natural born storytellers. I was at a recent event and they described our former president, Abraham Lincoln, as one of our greatest presidents, and in part because he was an incredible storyteller and used story very strategically. But there's other people that are not. It's a little bit like comedians. But like that, you can learn how to tell a good joke. You can learn how to tell a pretty good story. And we've actually run workshops on it, including even down there for the Australian Defense College. I mean, it's an overall course, but real rapidly, um, every good story has an awareness of its audience, who it's trying to reach, what do they know, what do they care about. What are your goals with that audience? What emotion do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do after you tell that story? A second value set, and again, this could be whether I'm telling a story that's a true story or it could be I'm making up a fiction. Another every good story has a set of characters, and there's this what's known as the triangle of drama. Uh, every drama has the hero, the villain, and the victim. What's interesting, and this is whether I'm telling the story of my day, how my class went, or I'm China operating in the South China Sea, is that frequently those characters can be the same. You can be the victim of the story and the hero of the story simultaneously. We often are that way. Every story has a setting that when you tell it to someone else, it has to be both real and imaginary. What do I mean by that? Even if it is a real world location, it's a pub in Melbourne. Someone who's not there has to imagine it, but it has to feel real to them. In much the same way, if it's set in a pub on Mars 100 years from now. And a last couple of things that I think are important is every good story takes someone on a journey, and the journey leaves them different between the beginning, middle, and end. And the final thing that I'll end on is you can't have everything in a story, so you have to have details. Um, Details are like data in a report. Um, they are also like salt in cooking. They have to be in there, but at a certain point, they ruin the report, they ruin the story, they ruin the meal. So, and I see that as often a challenge in academic writing to uh, storytelling in a fictional sense is people kind of sway one or the other. No data, no details, or it's covered with data. It's so many details that they've missed the point.
Fantastic. That's such a helpful